Hey there, friends and fans. I'm the other one, and I'm here to talk about Solo, a Star Wars story. And how much I hope that isn't the subtitle of every single Star Wars spin-off from now on, because it was hokey the first time, and it's not getting better. Here's how this is going to play out. I'm going to list all the things I liked, disliked, or otherwise thought was notable about the film, doing my best to avoid spoilers. I won't go into any plot specifics, but if you're really worried, you can skip to my rating at this time, or go see the movie first. At the end, I'll rate the movie on a very simple scale. Click is total mediocrity. Click is neither good nor bad, it just exists and few people talk about it. This movie is either better, worse, or in the same boat. It's that simple. Let's talk first about what I like. The characters in this movie are, with a few exceptions, likable and or interesting. Han, Chewie, and Lando all feel like the same people we met in the original films, and the interactions of characters runs the perfect Star Wars-y line between camp and believability. To be fair, though, the writing isn't spectacular. Most of the strength of the characters comes from the fact that the acting is quite good. Special shout out to Woody Harrelson as Beckett. He's probably my favorite new character in this film, and almost all of that is due to Harrelson's performance. Even Alden Ehrenreich didn't make me nearly as mad as I thought I would be when his dumb face popped up in the trailers. There are a lot of neat practical effects in this movie, or if they were CGI, I didn't notice. In particular, there were some really cool alien designs that feel much more like old trilogy stuff just because of how weird and gross and creative they are. There are a couple of really cool environments in the film as well. A train that defies gravity along a snowy winter cliffside and an electrical storm in space. While the original trilogy had cool rubber suit aliens, the planets and ships were always kind of boring settings. A forest, a desert, a bunch of hallways, repeat for 3 movies. That was one thing the prequel trilogy nailed, and Solo brings a little bit of that in, which is nice. Despite being a prequel to a movie over 40 years old, Solo does a decent job not being too predictable. You obviously know that certain characters aren't going to be staying with Han forever, but the ways events unfold keep you guessing a little. So, well done, movie. There's a bunch of little cameos and shoutouts to classic Star Wars characters and moments. Some are subtle, some are not, but they're mostly well handled. One in particular retroactively makes a certain main characters in this movie way more interesting, and makes me wonder how it'll tie into other Star Wars films. Seriously, I have to rewatch the movie at some point, all because of one scene. You know the one. So, that's the good, and I think you can tell what's good here is pretty darn good. But now it's time for... Okay, even though past me said that Alderaan What's-His-Butt did okay, superior future me just wants to say Star-Lord. I look at this man, I see his smug face, listen to his smug voice, and watch him move, and I can't stop thinking about Star-Lord. Come to think of it, this movie has a lot in common with Guardians of the Galaxy conceptually, but Emilia Clarke Gamora is way less cool than Zoe Saldana Gamora, so... Speaking of what's-her-name, she's pretty boring, and I don't think that Han and Kira have any chemistry at all. This movie thinks it does a clever thing with Han's name being Solo. This movie is wrong. Despite having 2 really cool environments, the others are pretty boring. Mud Planet. I feel like there are a lot of characters who don't matter in this movie. I don't mind it all the time because most of them are entertaining, but the movie is over 2 hours long and I'm starting to get real tired of movies being that long by default. I can think of at least 2 named major characters who were totally unnecessary, and if we could have shaved off 10 minutes of runtime for each of them, I think I'd be much happier with this film than I am. Ah! Hey, look! It's that thing from the other movie. Do you remember that thing? Do you like it? Will you still be impressed the 80th time we do this? Do you like these dice? Because the camera loves these dice, and you should too. How about these dice, huh? Seriously, stop showing me the damn dice. I get it. I saw Last Jedi. The dice were perfectly self-explanatory. Get on with the movie! But have you seen these dice, though? You ever want to think about whether droids in the Star Wars movies are really sentient, and whether all the main characters are complicit in slavery? No? Well, the movie's going to make you think about it, and give you no definite answers. If this is allegory, it's poorly handled, and if it's not, it's weird and kind of pointless, and either way, it's out of place. Usually, I'm pretty good at picking out the theme of a movie, and Star Wars typically has very broad themes. The movies are all about good versus evil, in both the external conflicts of the world and also in the human soul. Light and dark have to find a balance. You can't ignore your dark side, but you also can't indulge it. Either extreme will destroy you, so you have to walk the line of acknowledging your darkness but not giving into it. The Star Wars spin-offs, however, stray from that philosophy a bit and try to explore the gray area. That's fine, except when it's not successful, and Solo tends to be a little split. Half of the movie seems to be about finding the people you belong with and sticking by them, whether that's a romantic partner, a friend, or even just people you work well with. The other half of the movie is about how you shouldn't trust too much, and how just because you're close to someone doesn't mean that they have your best interests at heart. Those aren't bad themes, and they could even go well together, but the story never really seems to want to be about these things, or anything deeper than watching Han Solo go on a big wacky adventure, which in a way is kind of fitting because Han himself wouldn't want to acknowledge his emotional depth. He just wants to get rich and fly through space. But as an audience member, it's a little disappointing to realize that the movie you're watching doesn't have much of a soul or even a common thread. It's just a bunch of stuff that happens, and even though it's cool stuff, that can feel a little empty. Well, now that I've gotten all serious, how about we lighten up with some stuff in this movie that isn't good or bad, just kind of weird. All the human characters in this movie are unequivocally attractive. Even the villain isn't that bad. He's just an angry guy with lines on his face. All the aliens, however, are weird, and a lot of them are really gross. There are 3 separate scenes and characters that made me physically disgusted, and I don't know why this was done. Han speaks a little bit of Wookiee, apparently, but he doesn't need to in order to communicate with Chewbacca. Okay. The format is highly episodic, meaning that the characters essentially go from one misadventure to the next with little connecting the scenarios. That's pretty different from most Hollywood blockbusters these days. Again, not really good or bad, just interesting. Star Wars is doing that Marvel thing, where it wants all the movies to be connected. How I feel about this depends entirely on whether or not they screw it up, and how badly they screw it up. Well, now that I've said all I have to say about the film, it's time for the rating. Solo, A Star Wars Story is better than Click. I debated about this for a long time, and there's a version of this script where I said it was just Click, but like I said before, I think Click represents total mediocrity, and I don't think that's Solo. The movie has problems, and upon rewatching it, I may change my mind, but I got a lot of enjoyment out of the film, and I think others will too. There's nothing truly offensively bad, unless you're a snob who demands meaningful narratives, which I might be. Just lots of minor annoyances. It's a good movie, and I don't think you need to be a huge Star Wars fan to enjoy it, though if you are, you'll be pleased with just the right amount of fan service-y references. Solo is highly entertaining, better than the reviews might make you believe. There are just a few points where Solo misses the mark. Thanks so much for watching. If you like my voice, I can't imagine why you would. I have a YouTube channel where I upload dumb stuff, primarily Let's Plays, but also reviews like this, as well as other content when I feel like it. Blast that subscribe button if you want to see everything that I make, and leave a comment letting me know what movies you'd like me to review in the future, new releases or old stuff, I'm not picky. Once again, I'm the other one, and these have been my thoughts on Solo. Bye-bye!